One key aspect to my design process is that I have to be interested in the work I'm creating, or there has to be a sense of humor. I use humor a lot in my work. So when I rocked up to Michael's first class and he asked us to brainstorm our ideas, I was pretty lethargic from the day, and it was one of the first days of uni. So I came up with this mind map that still made me engage with the class, but also had a sense of humor and made me interested in it. Michael gave us a brief, and we had to fulfill a criteria, and he said, imagine you have a client and you have to do this design. What are your steps? So in mine, my idea was that I had a client that wanted a detailed diagram of a penis for a science book or whatever they did. So usually my first step is just roughly sketching the idea, and this is stage one. Then after I've done the sketching and I had a good attempt at it, I'll move on to the computer and do some research on different sized penises. I might get different sizes, different angles, all the things that you could want. So then, after doing a bunch of research, this sub phase in stage one can take quite a bit of time, a couple of days. I would move on to sketching it again, and maybe I find out that the penis that the client wants is best, to explain it to everyone, is from a front-on perspective. So I draw this little dick here, penis, from a front-on perspective. After that, I'll move on to my next step, and that's feedback. And this is where stage two comes in. Here, usually, I'd go to a designer, or even I mix it up a lot. You want to get a feel from designers and non-designers to get feedback on the work you're creating. So this is Connor, and Connor's a good mate of mine. He does the same course, and he's actually in this class now. So I'll go to Connor, show him my penis, and he might be like, hey man, look, this isn't totally accurate, I'm not feeling it, whatever. And then I'll show it to a non-designer as well and see what they think. And then after that, I'll go back towards the sketching stage over here, do a couple more drafts, and then I'll come back to like my final design. And then even once I've done all that and I've refined it and I think it's the final, and which is stage three, I'll go back to Connor and see what he thinks. And it's a constant thing until I get the final penis that I'm happy with and that best suits both the client's wishes and is also effective. This is stage one of my diagram, and a more detailed breakdown compared to the penis diagram you previously saw. So this is the first sub-phase of stage one, which usually involves brainstorming or mind maps. So the work I'm talking about here is my HSC work, and originally I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of just going for marks. I just wanted something good. Wasn't really that interested, so I just started spitballing ideas. I had ideas on war. I remember I had ideas on media or something, and I just wanted to do something shocking and sort of to bring light to something that people didn't know about. So I ended up, after my brainstorming phase, finding out that I wanted to do something on history. So I started to research other history that not many people know about, really. And I came across a couple of things like Joseph Miegel's, who was the scientist that did inhumane experiments for the Nazis, Vietnam War, and the Armenian genocide. And I just did so much research, and the Armenian genocide is something that really sort of just outraged me. It was a genocide that's not even recognized in countries. Australia doesn't recognize it because they won't allow us back to Gallipoli if we do, and it's just absolutely disgusting. So I found my idea I wanted to run with. And I also researched the symbols of war, just trying to get across some ideas. So now that we've done sub phase 1 and 2, we can move on to the characteristics, which is subphase 3. So this stage is almost like the brainstorming stage. I remember I just started researching artists, artists such as Del Bada, stars I like, Goya over here, Ben Quilty, George Ghettos, and a couple of other ones, that artists that have just done pieces on walls, such as this one. And yeah, it's just kind of gathering information to see how I want to develop my style. Stage 2 we're up to now, and this is an absolute crucial stage, I believe. So the first part of this stage is feedback, and without feedback I cannot do anything successfully, because I get to like tunnel vision. I keep focusing on the little things and I just don't see it. So this is my art teacher I had at the time. Her name was Miss Lehman, but we called her Lemon. And this is my art class, and these guys were all amazing. They'll give me feedback and everything, especially Hannah here. Hannah told me about Del Bada up here, so I was even getting feedback before it was even the stage, before it was cool. So I remember Miss Lehman, she sat me down, and I didn't have a lot of skills in the area of painting or charcoal. Actually, I really hated them, if I'm going to be honest, and she just made me constantly do color palettes, just constant color palettes, and it drove me insane, but it allowed me to develop my style and become comfortable in the medium. And I think that's crucial in your design. You got to be comfortable in what you're creating and what you're producing. So it ended up with a lot of experiments, and I started doing collages of a bunch of works that I either created or liked, or photos, and just putting them all together, and starting to mess around with just different styles, and that Ben Quilty style I really wanted to go with. So phase number 3 is starting the project, and this can go, like, I feel like it's good to get your foot in the door and just start, but you got to remember that it's just because you started the process, that's not how it's going to finish. So I started doing this with boards and palette knives and messing around with it. I remember I started with painting the boards with red ink and putting colors on top, but it didn't really pop. So I went back to Lemon for feedback, and she's like, why don't we make it black? And I was like, hell yeah, that's sick, because it follows with also the artist I love. Where is he? Goya, up here. So there we go. We ended up changing it. Wasn't too bad. Looked pretty sick. And then I also started experimenting with charcoal, and this is one of George Ghetto's works, and I was just seeing what I wanted to create, and then I realized, obviously, I went with the paint for the main figures and charcoal as the background. And this is also a process, just a little snippet of the process I have. And this was a little kid in Vietnam who was dressed up as a soldier to get past the Viet Cong. And yeah, it's just a slow process in development. So this is stage 3, and as you can see, I also have feedback here, because I still believe feedback's absolutely crucial. So even though I started to, I had my style down in place, I know where I was starting, I was still gathering feedback on design choices and stuff. Like, I remember we ended up cutting this in half, and a couple of other things. This ended up not being a decapitated head, and actually had a little body like down here, as you can see. But as we keep going through the feedback stage, we keep refining and we do stuff. I do a little bit more experimentation. So I had a shirt here that I started to do, and I remember getting rid of it because, it was kind of just shoving the message in the viewer's face, and that's what I got from a lot of people that saw the work. They're like, you really don't need that in your work to get your message across. We already get it from what you're producing. So after the refining and the feedback, you end up with the finished project. And obviously this takes a long time to develop, because you're constantly lapping back between feedback, experimentation, until you find your own style and your own development. And it's just constant work. Like, I still believe that I could finish like keep working on this, but you know, there was a time frame and everything. But this is my work. So this is sub phase 3, the finished product, and this is me in Lake Macquarie Art Gallery. Looks pretty sick. Give myself a little monobrow there. But yeah, everyone came out to see it, and I was so proud of this work. I don't think I've ever put, oh, I have now in uni, but at the time this is the first time I've actually put months and months into a piece, you know, and it was amazing, and the feedback was good, and this is what it turned out to be. So yeah, I was astonished with the work I created. Pretty much break it down for you. My design process looks a lot like the squiggle diagram, if you've ever seen that design process. It kind of goes like this, you know, through the mind map and the research and the characteristic stage. We're going crazy, we don't know where we're going. And then stage 2 comes and we're like, oh shit, we're getting somewhere. So we start to go a little bit crazy, and then by the time stage 3 and refining, you're like, yo, I know what I want to do, and it's just pretty much straight, maybe little bumps here or there, but nothing crazy. So it starts off as hectic and a lot of anxiety, and then you develop into something that you're truly passionate about. And although this is art, and I might get criticized for comparing an art process to a design process, I found that this was the first thing I figured out how to, like, my brain works almost. And I still had a criteria and a time limit to follow and a message I wanted to produce and wanted people to feel. I wanted people to look at my work and not be happy, you know, or not. I wanted them to get the message that I was trying to portray, and I did successfully get that. Like, I got in the art gallery and everyone understood what I was representing, and I feel design's the exact same thing. That's why I can relate this work to my design process. And I ultimately believe if you can find something you're interested in and manipulate it to create a product that you're proud of and interested in, it's truly amazing, and you can create effective design. Like personally in my stages, I need feedback and I need experimentation. They're crucial things. But you know, you can tweak it how you like. But yeah, it's something that I'm so proud of. And so manipulate what you are asked to do into something that both you and your client are interested into.